$1 million a year. Have you ever thought about making $1 million a year? Or maybe you wanted to make $1 million a year and you didn't have anybody to talk to about it, or nobody in your family or friends are making $1 million a year, and you were like, damn, I want to make $1 million a year, but all your friends are telling you, don't get realistic, right? Well, this video is for you. This is going to be the road to $1 million plus per year. Imagine if we could watch what Michael Jordan did in his practices, what he did day in and day out throughout his time getting better and executing to get better. Or Jeff Bezos, like what he did to take Amazon from the garage, like what he was thinking about, how he thought about business, how he thought about life, how he thought about what he was doing in terms of his leadership to take Amazon from the garage to a $1 trillion company. Or if we could see what was happening with Elon Musk's mind, to understand what he was studying, what he was learning, and how he saw the world, to eventually get to the point where he is now impacting the planet with SpaceX and Tesla. If we could see their journey, I think that would be tremendously valuable. I think a lot of people out there go through and they don't talk about their success until they've reached it, or other people start telling them they've reached it, and then they start to talk about that. And I wanted to create this series of me going from where I'm currently at. I've been doing this for about 25 months. I'll share with you all of the numbers and everything like that. And my process, what I am doing to get to $1 million a year plus. And I'm going to share all of that with you, the way I'm thinking, what I'm doing with my time every day, all of that and way more. So if this is your first time here, what's good? And for those of you who are returning, it's good to freaking see you. So with that being said, I think that the journey is so incredibly valuable, and not many people, or not enough people in my opinion, talk about that. When it comes to money, it appears that as soon as people start to get money, they talk about it less, or they don't necessarily share that with the world to show that it is possible for everybody to do that. So where I started about 25 months ago, this is the 29th of November, 2020. I was October 31st, and I was in Massachusetts. So it's Halloween night. I'm laying in bed, I'm smoking a little weed, and I'm like, fuck, I'm not happy. This is not what I wanted to do. Just 60 days earlier, I was living in Florida running a landscaping business that I owned. And I had doubled that more than 3 times. When I got there, I had around 38,000 revenue, doubled again to around $250,000. And I knew that I didn't want to do that. That was in around 16 months, 17 months, probably 16 months or 15 months. I had done that, and I was like, I don't want to do this. So I up and left. And that put me to where I was that October 31st of 2018. Laying in bed, smoking. I just started a job, good money in banking, right around 6 figures. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. Extremely easy, good people to work with, but not at all what I want to do whatsoever, not even the slightest. And it was that night that I finally made the decision here, right? Because I've been thinking about making stupid amounts of money for a long time. I've been thinking about the opportunities that are out there, and not realizing that all the opportunity is within me every single day to just take action. And I changed and I committed that night. So on November 1st of 2018, the next morning, I started making videos on YouTube. So I already had a YouTube channel, but I would like put out several videos and then I'd stop, and then I, 6 months later, I put out a couple videos, and then I stop, and then I'd put out more videos. And that had been playing out since since April of 2013 or 2014, I believe it was. So I was putting out content, not consistently, not showing up every day, not trying to get better every day, but where I felt like it, I'd commit to it for a little bit and then stop, and then do some more. And this time I committed, And I knew that I needed to take massive action. So I did 5 videos per day, every single day, 7 days a week on average, for 100 plus days, right? 500 videos, just a stupid number of videos. And those results came in here. So we're going to talk about that as we move forward. So the last 2 months of 2018, and we're going to talk about this on a monthly average basis. So on average, in 2018, those last 2 months, I made $11 per month. In the first month of November, starting, I didn't make anything. And then in December, I actually made $22. But for the average of those 2 months, I made $11 and change. And that was from one income source. Now, that first 6 months of 2019, I'm still working in banking, still working every day, and still making content every day. But I'd slowed down to maybe 2 to 4 videos per day on average throughout that time period. And by the time the first 6 months rolled by and I went through and I calculated the numbers, I had earned on average $35 per month. So I had more than a tripling from $11 per month to $35 per month. And one of the interesting things that changed during that time period was that I had tripled or something the number of sources of income. It went from one source to, I don't remember, I think it was 2 or 4 sources of income at that point. And maybe it was just 2, but it was Amazon and YouTube, and I don't remember what other sources are, but we'll just say it was those 2. But it was $35 an average per month. Still super not happy at my job, but still super easy. Like, you go from running your own business where everything is your fault. You don't have money to pay your bills, that's your fault. You don't have somebody to work, that's your fault, right? You need to do an estimate, your fault. You need to do administrative work, your fault. Like, working 7 days a week, right? So when it comes to working in banking, where you're only working banking hours, right? That's super easy. Super easy. It's not challenging in the slightest. But then the second half of 2020 continued to play out. And there's months where you're making barely anything, and then other months are very good. And then you're back to like making nothing. And I wasn't 100% focused. I knew that I needed to continue. I knew that I needed to push forwards. I knew that I could build something. I didn't know what. I didn't know where I was going, how it was going. I just continued to take action every day. And in December, on the 13th of December 2019, I quit. That was my last day at work in the bank. I had actually just gotten a promotion. I got a promotion at the bank, and they were was doing training for the new job, which would have been, mid 6 figures or whatever. And it was at that time where I was like, I'm not going to waste their time going through the training, right? And then getting into a role just to quit, because my original thought was to quit on the end of March. Why the end of March 2020? Because at the end of March 2020, I would have got my bonus. But I quit 3.5 months earlier, and that was an amazing, amazing decision. I finished 2019, the second half of 2019, with an average of $122 per month. So again, we have more than a tripling from $11 an average per month at the end of 2018 to the first half of 2019 at $35 an average per month to $122 an average per month for the second half of 2019. So it is growing, but there's still no real fundamental focus every day. So then I'm like, well, what the fuck am I going to do now? And I had decided that throughout this entire period from November 1st of 2018, that I knew I didn't want to do what I was doing in banking. I knew I needed to do something for myself, and in order to do that, I needed to build a solid foundation. And from that point on, I was saving $70 of every dollar that came in. That means, those of you who are not great at fucking math, $1,000 comes in, I save 700 and put that away. Another 1,000, save 700 of that, right? After taxes, right? So throughout the past 13 months, I was saving 70% of every dollar that came in. This was the foundation I had been building for 13 months on top of taking action every day to create more income online through YouTube primarily. But the sources of income for the second half of 2019, remember 2018 was one source of income. The first half of 2019, we'll just call it two sources because I don't know. Then the second half of 2019, I had 7 sources of income. Incredible, right? So increase the number of sources of income increases, right? And then the second half, or the first half of 2020, I'm not working, and I decided to travel across the country. So I didn't necessarily travel across the country. I'm sitting here in an apartment in South Carolina, but I went around to several different states and then ended up in South Carolina to get a place so that I can focus. And that was in March of 2020 is when I actually got the apartment, roughly, maybe the end of mid-March 2020. And I continued to flip stuff or do things along those lines, helping friends out along the way. But those amounts that I made through flipping things are not included in these numbers. Any amount that I made through investing in Tesla and the stock market and trading options are not included in this number. This is strictly from stuff that I was making online. And the stuff that I'm making through options trading, that was not included in this. Also, I still own the landscaping business in Florida. That is a ownership and equity stake, but I'm not getting any salary, I'm not getting any consulting, I'm not getting any dividends or anything. So there's no income associated with the landscaping business. I own 50% of it, but ownership doesn't mean you get paid, right? So there's no income from that, but I also own a rental property in Florida. However, through this time period, I was not getting paid from the rental property. So the first half of 2020 comes around, start paying myself from the rental property. It was half an Airbnb and half a regular one, $100 per month, right? So that basically, if I can still continue $122 per month, plus now I have money from the rental property, I've already almost doubled the income right there, just off the bat, just by adding in the rental income. Because I was building up a pile of cash for reserves at the property, right? So now that was all set up, I have $100 coming in per month from the Airbnb, plus the other sources of income. But we went from one source of income to 2 sources of income to 7 sources of income to 15 sources of income in the first half of 2020. 15 sources of income, one being the Airbnb, and 15 other sources like Medium.com, YouTube, a bunch of different affiliates, Amazon, all of those together came out to an average of $575 per month. Obviously there's change, right? At 35 and change, $11 and change, 122 and change. $575 an average per month. So I had a, 4x increase plus, right? 122 to 575. And I went from 7 sources of income to 15 sources of income. Absolutely amazing. And throughout this time, right, from the mid-December, and I didn't get my bonus because I had to leave, through all of the first half of 2020, I'm living on my savings. And when I calculated the amount of time that I could potentially have before I put in my 2 weeks, I have around 3 years worth of savings. Meaning, if everything goes to shit and I don't make any money whatsoever and just sit around, I have around 3 years to sit at not do anything. And that did not include the money that I was making online. So now that first half of 2020 was amazing because now that $575 a month is starting to build to take it so that I don't have to use as much as my savings. Which means that even if I didn't, even if it took me another year to get $575 up to $1,000 per month, that was okay because it had been about 6.5 months, and I'd pushed out the date that I needed to actually do something from like, hey, worst case scenario, you can go get a fucking job like at McDonald's or Walmart pushing carts. Like, it doesn't fucking matter to me. Like, I'm gonna do my shit, period, number one. I just need something coming in, right? So making $575 on average per month takes away how much that I need in savings. So then in order to understand how much you're gonna need, you have to understand your budget. And so I call it a minimum burn rate. You can hit me up on Instagram. There's a link down below if you care to know more about it, but just basically exactly how much you're gonna need, right? You got rent, you got internet, you got electric, you have water, you have phone, you have insurance, you have car, etc. Food, gas, if you have gas. I have electric car, so I have electric, right? All of these things need to be added up every single month to see what your minimum amount is that you need to live off of. And that was tremendously helpful. I don't live extravagantly or anything like that. So that was tremendously helpful. Another thing that was interesting during this time period, if you check out the other channel, there's a link down in the description for my other channel. It's mainly around fitness related things. And all of the supplements that I had been using were free at this point. I hadn't had to pay for any supplements because of the other channel. So I was also making money, but I was also, in terms of cash, but I was also getting the supplements for free. The free supplements I did not count in the number. And then we're in the second half of 2020. And this is again, November 29th, 2020. And this month, I will officially make enough money to live off of. If you want to know what that exact number is, make sure you press that subscribe button and that bell notification. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Instagram, press the follow button. And I'll be dropping that video in about a week after all the numbers come in for the month of November and tell you exactly what it is. If you guys enjoy this video, let me know down below in the comment section. If you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram. The link in the description. Peace.